What a special time to be able to spend with you.
Thank you, Lila. It's a joy. It's a joyous time of the year, and it's wonderful to be with you. And you look great. And it's nice to see you in person finally after so many months.
Indeed, you know, and I understand that you're convening people now in person,
We are.
and it's the perfect time of year to share. What are some of the joyful things that you can?
Well, you know, I think about the last 11 months since we got sworn in January 2nd, and it's been a bit of a blur, admittedly, but we've also gone through an incredible period of time. You know, and we were really encouraged in the beginning of our term because suddenly vaccinations became available, and they weren't supposed to be available until the latter part of 21, actually. That's what most people were saying, but when they became available and we were able to put together our distribution sites and work with the hospitals and take care of our kapuna first and our first responders, and as the community built, that was very gratifying, and we worked our way through the tier systems, and we got our kids back playing on the fields back in April, and it felt like everything was coming together, and then we hit the Delta variant, you know, and so ironically enough, we went to the 4th of July weekend talking about doing away with the tiers and, you know, 60% vaccination level, and that's what mattered, and we had critical mass to going into the Labor Day weekend. And for the first time, breaking 1,000 cases a day. The projections were very scary. Our hospitals were over capacity. We had oxygen supply problems, and things were looking very harrowing. In fact, the University of Hawaii had put out a report. They were projecting it could be possibly in October 3,700 cases a day, and that would have required hospitalizations way beyond our ability to deal with it. So we went through that really incredible, frightening period, and then almost miraculously, in the spirit of this holiday season, we hit October and we saw this real precipitous decline, and it's been building ever since, to the point now our vaccination levels are the best in the country. I still see people outdoors wearing masks. I was at the mall the other day, and I had to count the people who weren't. There was like 2 or 3. I mean, it was amazing. So I think it's a time now that we've been through a year to remember and a year to forget in so many ways, but we've learned a lot. But now is a time to be joyous in this holiday season, to celebrate together on who we are as a people and what we've been through, but more importantly, what we have to look forward to. I want to go into 2022 with a really renewed sense of hope. I want our community to feel that, and we're going to do everything we can from our office as an administration to help facilitate that.
And with all due respect to your current position as a businessman,
Yes.
you've gone through ups and downs and challenges. I know this is huge. And at the same time, it's sort of who you are. You know, you take a situation, you take lemons and make lemonade.
Thank you. Yeah.
What are some of the highlights that you remember?
Well, first and foremost, I would tell you that the highlight for me is I've never sensed a feeling of responsibility like I do now. This is a lot different than just driving profitability for privately owned, even publicly traded companies, or news ratings, or all of those things. And I'm certainly not denigrating any of that. But when I think in terms of the mayor's office and all that we're responsible for and what's at stake for so many people, it's incredible, you know? So I think the highlight, first and foremost, it really has so much to do with the team of men and women we brought in here, you know, and part of it, any experience I've ever had in my life where we've created success, it's always been predicated on that. And we were really fortunate. There were so many good people that came forward, and so we came in here and brought in 22 out of 25 new directors for our cabinet positions. We retained 3. They, in turn, I asked them to hire their own deputies, which was a bit unprecedented because they've heretofore been, for the most part, political appointments. But I felt the jobs were so big and so critical, we wanted to hit the ground running to drive execution, that they really should be handpicking their own partners. And they brought in 18 out of the 22 positions, and we retained some of really incredible people. We have so many, and so we came in with more than 40 senior leaders. And the biggest thing that I feel really good about is their sense of collaboration. Nobody's operating in a silo.
You had established the vision of freshness.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring experience in, and also looking toward the future, which is pretty much what the holiday season is about, celebrating and also looking forward. So along with the people that you've brought in and their own creativity and their freshness, you had some projects going on as well.
We did. Well, you know, we knew going into it, even pre-COVID, that the top topics would be homelessness, obviously the rail project, and building affordable housing. We have such a housing shortage. And so we knew that. But in addition to that, what really came about is, obviously, given the adverse economic impact on the economy for having been shut down as many months as we were, with tourism not happening and so on. You know, the rebuilding of our economy, distribution of funds to help people, to stop people from being evicted. And I want to talk about that in a second, but rebuilding our economy. What really hit us really right in the face is the need to modernize the city. That's another thing we don't talk about, but that comes in so many different ways. It's not just about buying technology, although we have a real need to do so, but it has a lot to do with operational things. So, you know, that and our staffing levels. You know, one of the things we had to do when we first came in was impose a hiring freeze because we had a deficit in the budget. We had 60 days to balance that. So we imposed a hiring freeze because in order to do that, but that was the first thing we lifted back in June. But it's been a challenging time to find good people. So you're going to see us in the first of the year have our first ever career fair, big, and we're going to be very aggressive. I said the city needs to be a predator when it comes to recruiting people, as being a great place to work. And we want to attract the best and the brightest. We don't want people leaving to say, I've got to go to the mainland to get a good job. You know, there are a lot of good jobs on Oahu. A lot of them are taken, but the city has some really great needs and has some great potential for young people on a going forward basis. Look, it took us a bunch of months. I'm an old coach, so we operate with a strategy. You have a game plan. I'm not going to throw a solution out there without understanding the problem first. So we went out about what we've done, and we've launched our core program. I think you'll see that expand dramatically. We're working with facilities to place people and what we're going to do with the homeless issue. You saw just yesterday, we've worked very diligently every week on what we're getting done with the rail. The numbers are now down to a $1.97 billion overrun, but that's a lot better than the $3.6 billion we walked into just 11 months ago, and we're still working on that. And that's the completion of the rail. I have a meeting, I think, in Washington with the FTA in December. We're having some really good discussions. Look, I'm the fourth mayor to touch that project, and we walked into, it wasn't the best handoff. You know, they pulled the P3 for financing, they fired the CEO. It was a challenging time to come in the middle of a pandemic.
So you have a lot of plates spinning.
Yes, I could go on, but but I feel good. But the good news is, Ōlelo, what I want to convey is, despite these challenges, people say to me, oh, it must be, you know, I said, no, it's actually energizing, you know, and honestly, and that's why even all the more so, I want to be sure our holiday spirit that we have going into this year, that we have that, and that people feel good about it.
Yes, you have all of these plates spinning and these issues that you're working with, but you also have dreams.
Yes. Yes, I think you have to be a dreamer in this job. You know, we talk a lot about our ability to imagine and what's out there. So I expect improvement. That's a given. You know, we have a lot of talented people. We're going to get better. There's all kinds of metrics. But the real thing and the difference is innovation. You know, we're the new ideas. So how do you embrace the primary derivative of not just the leadership, but of the men and women who work in this city? How do you embrace, you know, their intellectual capital? You know, and that really, for want of a better way, has to do with ideas and being willing not to be risk adverse, to be willing to embrace new thinking, to try different things.
Well, and what you do so well is inspire and ignite the possibilities.
Well, thank you, Lila. That's very nice. I hope so. I'm inspired by our team. And honestly, and one of the things I've told people repeatedly is, now that I've gotten in touch, not that I know all of our 10,000 employees, but, you know, being my first time on this side and on the inside, and getting to meet so many men and women who work for the city, and the dedication, the commitment, the attitude, the pride they have in working, you know, for the place that they live in and they love. It's, you know, it's a very energizing experience.
Well, and I would like to suggest that if people need a little place of calm to walk through the property around Honolulu Hale.
Yes, we want to make the holiday as inviting this year as ever. In fact, today, after we finish the show, I'm meeting with the governor. We're going to be making announcements effective December 1 on a lifting of the restrictions that I think hopefully will be very well received by the public as a push forward in our feeling of not only normalcy, but in the spirit of this holiday season, so people can feel good and feel, you know, that they can be together.
And so as we conclude our conversation for today, what's a message that you could leave us with?
I want to leave everybody with a message of hope. Okay, we have been through a very difficult time. We now know we live in an uncertain world. And so while we can't necessarily talk about the future with certainty, I don't know if you ever can talk about certainty. So let's just draw on the lessons learned. Let's just draw down on our personal resolve, and let's be the people that we are. And let's live our lives as fully as we possibly can. And let's love each other, and let's go forward.
And the theme of this year is got poi, so eat poi.
There you go.
Thank you for being with us.
Lila, thank you.
It's been a pleasure getting to know Rick Blangiardi, Mayor of the City and County of Honolulu.